Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so we went sideways today on the indices. We're going to start off with the indices. We'll go over the Mag 7 stocks, and we're going to talk about some individual tickers, some trade ideas at the end of the video. All right, we got two paths, two probable paths here. I'm not sure which one we're going to be getting. I'm really not sure. The market's struggling up here, but the fact that we pushed within the past week here, we pushed 2 times within 3 points of this high tells us that they're targeting this high. They're coming up to this high. It is extremely unlikely at this point we're going to, go from all the way down here, going, minus 8% there, back up within 3 points of highs. They sell it down to the 21. You push back up again with 3 points within highs, and they're going to give you this. No, they're probably not going to take you back underneath the 21. They're likely, if we sell down here, we're probably just going to pull back into the daily 9 EMA, and then I would assume we push back up. Your worst case scenario is maybe you do get all the way down here, but honestly, it just would not make the most sense to me. So it's not going to be a base case by any means. There's nothing bad about this. I'm not going to say SPY has the same look here on the 4 hour. It doesn't. It's definitely showing that weakness, but yeah, honestly, it's the same situation. You had this big correction. Well, it wasn't massive over there, but it was 5% there. It's on the larger end of what SPY gets. And then you almost push straight back up the high. We were expecting a zigzag. This is the zag. Okay, QQ is just holding up, quite a bit better over here. So QQ definitely going to be leading the way. Definitely looks like it wants to be pushing up to new highs. I'm going to expect that dip gets bought in the short term. But I'm not going to say SPY looks all that great over here. I just can't. I can't. All right. So we'll see what happens. But I really don't think it makes any sort of sense to come back down to lows or anywhere close to lows after they give you this massive rebound here. Maybe. No, there's no freaking way SPY is going to come back down there and QQ's not. And it doesn't make sense for QQ to come back down there. So I'm just going to say, do not expect that you're coming back down there. It's very, very unlikely. Probably just going to be consolidating here before another push up. That's really it. We're right on the 21 EMA. We'll start off with QQ just because honestly this is clear as day. The cleaner TA that's been taking place is on QQ. You got larger moves over here as well. It's going to be leading the way. So we'll go over the levels here, go over on SPY. I'll quickly just point out IWM, made a new high today. It's probably not just going to top out right here. It's probably going at least a couple points higher. See what DIA did. Just pull back into the daily 9 after this, big breakout. You have all this consolidation going on here for like over 3 weeks. You push back up after you have your big sell. You really think the breakout's only going to last 3 sessions? Then really get sucked back into this previous range? Probably not. You had this big consolidation. You didn't move too much. So I'm just saying, expect the market to keep drifting higher, but, IWM, I did point out in the weekly update, this just looks pretty iffy over here on the weekly with the candle we just printed. I don't have too many expectations in the short term here. I just know at some point this thing is going to knife down to the weekly 21. But, okay, I don't think that's going to happen right now. And if it does happen, I don't think it's going to happen with SPY and QQQ. Why? Because if IWM knifes like that, I imagine all of these are going to be falling. Again, I really don't think it makes sense to come anywhere close back down to these lows after getting this big recovery there. I really don't. Can it happen? Yeah, of course it can. Do I think it makes any sort of sense? No, of course I don't. If you close out like with a lower wick like that, or close out slightly like that, I'm just going to point out sometimes you do come back down that next, candlestick, and it doesn't matter what time frame, but this is the monthly we're talking about. So it's going to be the next monthly candlestick. Sometimes, a lot of the time, most of the time, you do end up coming down into that lower wick. So I just want to point that out. Maybe we are going to have this little push up here. All right, you're going to have this overthrow of all-time highs, and maybe you end up actually getting something like that, and we just kind of stay around into next month. That wouldn't surprise me, but I'm just telling you, it doesn't make any sort of sense to come back down here. Get that out of your mind. Can it happen? Yeah, but do I think it's going to happen? No, I do not. I did point out in the weekly update there, Amazon, it's almost to a bottom down here. You're going to come a little bit lower. Daily RSI is going to get oversold there. And then that's probably going to have a bottom shortly, being put in. And then Google's the same way. See this daily RSI get into oversold territory. If we happen to see it get all the way down here to 320, that's where bottom should be carved out. You know, but yeah, I don't think we have a lot more downside. And if we do end up seeing everything sell, okay, if QQ really wants to sell, which I did not think this was going to happen over here on NVIDIA, but if it really does, you're going to knife down here on NVIDIA. You're going to come down here to 195, and we are going to get 37 on the daily RSI. And then we know within the next 1 to 2 weeks, we have this 10% move up that's likely. And that's going to look something like that. And guess what? You come right back into the highs we just had. So, like, your worst case scenario is you're going to knife a little bit. You're probably just going to work it back up, you know, pretty quick, like within 1 to 2 weeks from coming back down here. So this, if the market does want to sell and it somehow does do the unprobable scenario, I'm just saying top watch is going to be NVIDIA if that daily RSI gets down to 37. Same thing we were saying there at the bottom, you know, right over here. It was these few days. It was saying, hey, if you end up coming down here, all right, it was at 39 at the low, but you didn't get it. So I'm just saying this would be probably triggering if QQQ is going to sell like that. But I don't think that's going to happen. SPY underneath the 4-hour 21 EMA. QQ is still above it. So I really don't know which one's going to lead the way here. Either QQ is going to start pushing back the highs and SPY is going to be dragged up, or SPY is going to start tanking and QQ is going to follow along and probably take out 4-hour 21 and come back into the daily 9 EMA. That's it. That's really it. As far as levels go, on the upside, we have 744.73, 748.65, and then we're back at price discovery mode. On the downside, today's low, 734.39. Underneath there, 732.51, and then we have the golden pocket between 726 and 730. That's where I'm going to be looking for buyers to step in. All right, so that is QQQ. We're going to come over here to SPY. I'm going to say on the upside, you have today's high 750.18. You take that out, you probably are. You're going to see the 4-hour cloud probably flip back to green. All right, you have all this consolidation. You're going to be taking that out. Yeah, it's not going to look bad for the bulls if you can do that. Okay, very clearly over here, big impulsive move. It was pretty quick. Okay, but this is the pullback along this. Okay, and then you have a very quick move back up, and then you're, you know, in a controlled manner pulling back into the daily 21. I personally think you're going to get bought, but, you know, again, we talk about the scenarios. I don't care if I'm exactly right. I don't care if you get my preferred path. It's fine. Okay, just realize we talk about all the scenarios here. It's not like we're wrong. It's like this thing either pulls back like that and pushes up, or it pushes up. You know, so I'm just letting you know. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted over there, okay? Don't, you know, don't get super ultra scared and say, you know, oh, we're coming back down to lows. I'm going to see some dumb shit, I'm sure, if the market sells these next few days. I'm going to see some dumb shit all over online. These people are most of the time just idiots on Twitter there. So just know that is the case, okay? This market wants to rip. It wants to, but it doesn't mean we have to leave this area just yet. No, it does not. But, you know, look how QQ closed out last week. We have 2 lower wicks on these weekly candles over here. There you go. All right. It looks pretty odd. But again, they clearly want to drive it up. You had 2 shots 2 weeks in a row here where sellers could have, they had a shot, you know, and they didn't take it. That's how I'm seeing it. All right. So that's it. SPY over here, 750.18, 752.15, 756.68, 760.40. On the downside, today's low, 743.13, 739.22, 735.53. And that's going to align with the golden pocket from this most recent move up. Okay, so, you know, worst case scenario, if you're not going to come all the way down here, this is where buyers would probably step in. I'm not going to say that looks ideal. No. And I do think if they do take it down there, I really do think it would just happen next week. So it's going to put in a lower wick on the monthly candle. I mean, call me crazy, but yeah, maybe they do end up dragging this thing out. I'm not sure. I really don't know. You know, but we do know the direction of where they want to be bringing this thing. And we do know some names that are definitely standing out. Okay. All right. Let's go over these Mag 7 stocks. I just want to point out VIX started to catch a bit over here. We'll see if it ends up taking out 1884 and getting a larger spike there. The 4 hours specifically, what's looking like this thing might get a little bounce here. And that aligns with, you know, SPY QQ pulling back a bit more. So what RSP is doing over here, 4 hour doesn't look the best. Daily is pulling right into the 21 EMA. On this run over here, that's what's being supported. You know, that's what's supporting price is the 9 EMA and the 21. We'll see if that happens. Same spot you found buyers over here. We will see. We will see. As far as Mag 7 stocks go, guys, Google, I'm watching 320, 330 for a bottom to be putting over here. You swept the low over here, but to me, it's pretty obvious you want to take that out, okay? You know, if they drag this out, really, if they go like this, go like that, and you reject the 21, still come back down, that's your worst case scenario, and they're going to drag it into next week. You know, it's possible. I don't know. I mean, I prefer they just sell it down if they're going to do it. You know, but again, like I just said, market doesn't have to follow my, you know, preferred path there. It's fine. I have an ideal path for pretty much every single stock I put out there. But I also go over every single, you know, scenario that I see possible, whether that be bearish or bullish. And yeah, that's really it. You know, that's it. So Google over here, you need 2 daily closes above the daily 21 EMA. And then we know this correction is probably done. But until that happens, it's still falling. That's that. In the video over here, we just talked about it. You rejected 212.71. That's the level you need to break through. You rejected right then and there this morning. Right up here. Okay. You know, a little failed move. Came all the way back down. And 4-hour cloud is about to flip back to red. You know, I look back and you really don't see many occurrences of this where you flip back to green and then it goes red and then it goes green again. You know, so quick like that. You really cannot show me a time where you're sitting near highs. We're not near highs, but it's clearly in a breakout sequence there, and we're retesting the area. Yeah, you really can't. I don't know. I couldn't find any, you know, instances of this, but yeah, I mean, you went green, you went. I'm just saying, it's not a common scenario. You know, even during all this consolidation, we really didn't see that, and then you see on the run. You also don't really see it. So, yeah, I don't know really what to tell you. It's either going to come down. We're going to get 37 on the daily RSI. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to use 821 calls on that. We're going to literally target 215, 220 up here. Or you're going to not break down from here, and you are going to take out 214, 213.99, today's high, and you're probably going straight to 220, 225. I have no idea what it's going to do, but I think if we're going to move up, I think it would probably be this week. I don't think they close you out with a bearish candlestick this week. That wouldn't be the best look. So that's really what I'm looking for in the video. Either you push through this area and it's going to be saved real quick and it goes 220, 225, and that makes more sense. Or it's going to take out 206.50, which was Thursday's low. Okay. And then that opens the door over here to 203.08. You take that out. I'm just going to say almost with certainty there, you're going to take out 199.34, and you're going to, if you test that, you're going to get down to 195 and bottom out right around there. As we talked about over here, they just did not want to make it easy for us. I would have loved for them to do that, but you know, that's why I like trading, you know, NVIDIA. I get the cleanest trades in NVIDIA when we push down into this extreme, because I know that's capitulation, and you know, the rubber band, it just doesn't snap. It's just a never snapping rubber band there, and you know, the further it stretches. All right, like right over here, you had 2 of them. I mean, regardless, you hit this and you get an immediate 5% bounce for the next few sessions. You hit it again and bang. You know, you have a mega rip. Okay. So although it may look ugly, I'm telling you from experience over the past, you know, 3 years or so, trading NVIDIA exactly this way, the best and cleanest trades that I have been able to put on here are going to be when this thing is just at extremes. You just come out looking like a sniper, and I don't have anything else to say other than it follows a pattern, you know, every single time it gets down there. I got nothing else to say about it, you know. It's this thing right here. So if we see it, that's what I'm going to be looking for, and I'm going to buy it. That's pretty much it. That's a nice, easy 100 to 200% on 1 to 2 month out calls for you if you get that, you know, 10% move. Most of them go over 10%. And with where we're positioned, I assume it's just going to sweep the weekly 21 and then have a decent recovery. And we probably still will reverse up out of this area. You know, we'll just take off all this. Like we're literally retesting where we broke out from, retesting the weekly. You know, we got the 9 EMA here. If you come down here, test the weekly 21. It's not the worst look in the world. So that's the video. All right. Apple over here starting to get some sellers, rejecting the daily 21 EMA still. Just been dancing around it. I got nothing new to add over here to Apple. There's nothing about it. You know, Amazon over here took out the low 233.59. You have the 0.618 fib at 230. Okay, from the whole most recent rally up here. This was a what, 20% rally? I lied. It is a 40% rally. Double. Okay, double trouble, baby. Double trouble. You know, but yeah, daily RSI getting into oversold territory. It typically does provide, you know, where at least a short-term base will build out for a relief rally into the moving averages. All right. I'm not saying it's guaranteed that it has to, you know, come down here and immediately bounce back up here, but honestly, it's probably what's going to happen. Maybe not immediately because sometimes it works itself out, but yeah, I'm going to look for it. Again, it's that rubber band there, you know, it's Yeah, you're probably going to bottom out somewhere between 220, 225. I would guess. It's a guess. You know, it's not a guarantee. It is a guess, though. You have this level right over here. You know, there was a big breakout level right here. You retested that day you broke out, and then you were off the races. So 220.47, that's the level that stands out to me on the downside over here for Amazon. And then, hey, on all of these, same with what I was saying on Google. You get back above the daily 21. We see two closes over here on Goog. I think it's good for a run back up to the highs. Amazon, we're going to say the same shit. You got to get back above the 21 EMA. Now, this, honestly, I absolutely despise how Amazon trades. This is my least favorite, besides Meta, trade on the Mag 7 stocks. You know what? No, I like how Meta moves. Okay, when Meta's moving, it's grooving. Amazon's kind of honestly just a shit show all the time. I don't like how it trades. But yeah, that's Amazon. Meta over here looks like it wants to take out that 557.01 low underneath there. You just got 520.26. You know, I really don't think the Mag 7 stocks are important right now. I really do not. You know, yes, they move with the market, but you know, QQ almost pushed back the highs, came within 3 points of highs twice the past week. And guess what? These are all, you know, just beaten down. They're not looking good. So I don't think they're going to matter all too much. Microsoft's just falling into the abyss. Tesla, you still want the break over 418.50. At that point, you're probably going to push up to 433.60. Microsoft, yeah, it wants 356.28. And we talked about this yesterday. It probably will end up coming down here. And you probably will have a major low being put in once you take out this 344.79 low. That's what they want. You know, why would they bring this all the way back to the weekly 21? Big ass bounce there, just missing this low. And then they come down to the scene, back down to the scene of the crime. No, they're definitely trying to get down here. There are motivated sellers trying to bring it down here. So we will see, okay, if it gets down there. But yeah, I'm telling you, Mag 7 stocks, they're not it right now. They ain't it, Chief. They ain't it. You're not that guy, Mag 7 stocks. You ain't that guy. I will show you. All right, what is where capital is flowing into, and honestly, we got some nice looking ones right now. We really do. All right, and I just want to point out first things first. SpaceX, guys, do you guys remember our call on SpaceX? I said I think the most probable scenario is this thing pumps 30 to 50% and the rug pulls and sucks everyone in. What do we have here, guys? I am hitting the button. That was easy. All right, damn straight. I did not participate. Because, you know, premiums are pumped, and honestly, I didn't care to participate. There's much better probabilities out there that I could be putting my money on. But I'm just going to say, this is exactly what I was talking about, how the thing that makes the most sense, like who wants to sell it right off the bat? But I'm sure people are going to buy it up off of hype, and then they're going to realize, oh shit, this makes no sense to be a $3 trillion company. That's exactly what happened up here. You were $3 trillion at the high. The thing is falling flat in its freaking face, okay? 50% rip. All the way back down to IPO bottom. That's insane. Okay. But I just want to say exactly how I envision it. And we talked about it ahead of time. 30, 50% move up, rug pull. Completely pulled the freaking rug as of today. Nuts. Okay. Absolutely nuts. Annette over here, guys, holding up so well. Does not care what the market's doing. I think this has a big breakout move coming over here. And I know this just grinded higher after it got its last big breakout. You got this big breakout, barely moved, based out. You know, we're just going to include that right there. A whole year. This is like 10 to 11 months of a base. Okay. You know, this thing literally based out like near previous highs here after not moving. It looks beautiful. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This thing looks so nice. I don't like how, you know, the option chain is a liquid. I don't like how this thing has moved in the past. But if I had to guess, there is a big move loading here. And if you give it some time, this thing's it's gonna make a nice move. 200 and then 220. Those are your targets. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. Look at that. Look at that. 8 o'clock. We're gonna have a 30-minute video. We're at 19 minutes. Okay. INTC, don't worry, not another hour and 20-minute video. And I do not have the music playing in the background. I'm sorry. I did not know you guys could hear my music yesterday. I didn't know my mic would be picking it up. My apologies. My apologies. I record with my headphones on. So, you know, I got these Big Beats Studios with noise cancellation mode on. So you guys probably heard the music more than I was hearing the music last night. So that's funny. So my bad. but I still hope you enjoyed the video. INTC though, guys, impressive breakout move today. It was 144 in the overnight session. The thing went berserk. It was up almost 10%. It was like 8% last night. And now the thing did not end up going 144 today, but we do know where this thing wants to go. The 4-hour RSI, it is overbought. You can see I marked out where it is right now, and then just go to the left. Just literally see history's not going to repeat, but it does like to rhyme. And, you can see we're not, at an extreme up there, but you can see when this thing end up crossing through that line and then it pulled back, like you get a pullback. Okay. So I'm just saying, I personally think we're probably going to go sideways for, tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, and then push Thursday, Friday. I'm going to say that is my most probable scenario on INTC right now for this week, is you go sideways from here a little bit, because you move 22% in 3 sessions. That's a lot. That if I just went back and looked, this one right over here, look, you got 24%. You see this pullback right there, 4.8%. And then the thing rips and past that high. Oh, it goes another 14%, pulls back a little bit. So I'm just saying this is a pretty aggressive move. Now, I don't know. If it pulls back like that, it's probably just going to go sideways and not really pull back. It's just going to go sideways like these times right over there and then still push. Maybe you come a little bit underneath today's low, maybe even retest 132.75. I don't think so, though. I think there is a lot of hype around this name right now. I don't think they're going to give that big of a dip there. I really do think they're just going to bring it sideways. Your breakout just started. Doesn't really get sexier than this over here. If they end up doing this, then nothing changed. The setup has not changed. So I don't want to see a bunch of comments, saying, oh, INTC's failing. No, it's literally just going to... It's textbook. I don't got nothing else to say about it. Don't be greedy little pigs looking for a move right here, right now, all the time. All right. This is a multi-week move on the last run. It's probably going to be a multi-week move on this run. There were pullbacks along this run, and that's all I'm identifying right here. Okay. You have one scenario where you go sideways for a little bit and then push into end of week. And you have one other scenario where I think you push straight up to 150, 155, and then you get the sideways action there. And you still might have that fake push up into end of week. So if they want to get it going tomorrow, and we do get 150, okay, I think they probably top it out in the short term around there, and we'll probably go sideways. That's my honest guess at this, okay? You either get that, or if they pull you back, I mean, this thing, when it likes to move, the thing goes like 15, 20%. So, whenever that is, I'm just saying, which I'm pretty positive they're going to do this week. I think you still end up like if you get the pullback and you get a chance to buy here, I think you can capture 20% rep into end of week. I still think 165 to 175 is coming this week. It's a pretty nice close. I'm just pointing out the caution, maybe you're going to go sideways a little bit. We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. Hood, getting the 9 EMA pullback over with right now. I'm not sure if it's going to come all the way back down there, but if you do manage to come back down near $100, I think you get a quick reaction off there, just like the last time. These 9 EMA tests, I think they're probably going to hold up. And within a few sessions, you're back at highs, just like you had over here. So I'm talking a quick 5 to 10% move up at a minimum off there, off this area here. But at that point, I think they might just kind of bring you back up the highs, and you're going to go like this, something like that. Okay. That's over here on Hood, but yeah, honestly, I won't be surprised to see them push it back up and flip this into a green weekly candlestick this week. All you got to do is break it above 108, and you can close out with a doji, same like that, and then you push up the next week. Either way, either this week or next week, we're looking for new highs. 9 EMAs around $100. It's at like 98, 99. All right, VF, guys, I think an explosive move is actually happening over here, and the premiums are the cheapest I have seen them. So I think I'm going to take a stab at this tomorrow. Pretty sure this just looks so sexy. You could wait for the breakout to happen, or I'm just saying, I see it every single time this thing is consolidating. Premiums are cool. They're never this cool, but they're cool. And then you have one of these pumps, and then they make absolutely no sense to trade them. I am just saying, you had really heavy volume coming in yesterday or on Thursday there. It was your monthly OPEX. You had really heavy volume. You sold. You're pushing right back up. Okay. The people who sold this, they're underwater. Okay. This looks like it's going to fucking explode. Okay. This looks pretty crazy. This is the largest base you built out since your January breakout over here from this base. Okay, this one did end up going for, 2.5 months, almost 3 months. This one right now is almost 2 months. So there is a chance where this just keeps going like this for the next 2 weeks. It is possible. Okay, and then it breaks out. But regardless, I'm putting this on your radar before it breaks out. This is a massive base. This is probably going to bring this to $70 to $80 in this next push. At that point, premiums pump their ass off. I personally like the 717 60C. They're currently about $300. You get $70. They go for the clean 3x, like 3.5x. You get to $80. We're talking 6 to 7x, 6.5 to 7x. There you go. Okay. So yeah, when this thing likes to move, it does make the move within, like, we're going to say 1 to 2 weeks. It gets its breakout move. Sometimes it's just a little failed breakout, but without all this consolidation, yeah, I think this thing's going to freaking explode. This is pretty gnarly looking, okay? Quantum on the up and up, okay? QBTS. Watch for the break over 27.15. I'd say QBTS and INFQ. These are the two that I am paying attention to for this quantum move. Trump is pumping them again. So yeah, I think capital's probably going to start flowing back into these quantum names. You're at the weekly 21 on a lot of them. You have RGTI, you have INFQ there, you have QBTS in there. I think QUBT is also right there. IBM underneath it, but it started getting a pop because you get the Trump endorsement of the CEO today. Bang. But yeah, quantum is probably about to start seeing capital flow back into the sector over here, this theme. And I personally think QBTS is the best setup. That and INFQ. INFQ is already moving quite a bit in the after hours, and I will not be surprised to see a move just like this, where it still does end up ripping tomorrow, maybe the next day after that. I won't even be surprised to see that. At some point, I think this thing explodes. I think this thing will get a breakout from the space, and I think it might happen on this run. So INFQ and QBTS. QBTS is the one that's been around for a while. We know it's been a leader in the past, it's been a runner. Yeah, I think INFQ, this one's a 9 bill market cap. This one over here is a 3 bill market cap. So if the whole team is going to run, these basket of stocks is going to run here, then yeah, I think this can get an outsized move. And if you do push back up here, hey, do we really get a quadruple top? I know there's double tops and triple tops, but you don't really see too many quadruple tops. You push back up here, I think you're going to bust right through it. Okay, 21.28 is that big level for that. Okay, AMD. I'm blown away. This thing wants to push up after looking like this. This just doesn't look complete to me. It looks like it needs more time. But at the same time, these stocks have been going nuts. They might just keep grinding higher, okay? But I want to point out AMD got the failed breakout, pulled into the 90 MA, break and retest off where it broke out from over here, 505.62. Pretty picture perfect retest right there. Pushes back up, and now you're at a new all-time high. I think this thing wants to keep pushing. That's really it. That's it. There's nothing more than that. It's buyers want to take it higher. It's either going to keep pushing from here. You're probably going to take more time, another 1 to 2 weeks going sideways. That's AMD. HIMS, guys, getting the pullback. I want to point out on most of these green weekly candlesticks, there's some sort of pullback at the start of the week, whether that be a gap down or a little lower wick on the weekly candle. This over here got the gap down and the lower wick on the weekly candle. Double trouble. All right, but I do just want to point out, most of these green week, like this one did not. Most of these along these big runs, you do get the pullback at the start of the week, and it can be rather aggressive. Okay, and that's kind of all you got going on right now. I don't think this is good. Like, I think between 7 and 10%. We're already at 7.5%. So I don't think this is coming down much lower, but just realize, like, it just broke out from a 2-month base here. Honestly, you barely broke out from over here. So we'll just include this and say it's like a 3-month base. Okay, it's probably just going to retest this area and push up. And if you just look back, there are these days where, and like, again, those weekly lower wicks or those pullbacks at the start of the week, they happen somehow, and they happen like this. Okay, so I just want to say, is a 2 to 3 month base breakout really going to last 2 days? Probably not. Okay, we're anticipating this. That's all. That is all. I still think 40.88 can come by end of week here. I do. All right, UNH going sideways here. Looks like it is about to be moving back to the upside here. And since you did break out from over here, you really didn't move. Okay, you barely moved over here and you pulled back, and now you've been going sideways above the moving average here on the daily time frame. And right on that breakout level, 404.15. Very clean manner over the past 2 weeks here. My bad, I got the hiccups. Always got the hiccups. Always. It's because we talk fast. It's okay. But yeah, watch for this break over 415.98, and I think 436.38 is going to come in the short term. That is where it broke down from. I do think this next little move here has the potential to go all the way to 475, 480. I do. And that is 60 points. Okay, above here. Just saying, this is where the move would start from. All right, but I do think in at least like 20-30 point leg is probably going to happen here, and we should at least get 436.38. That's UNH. And you know, you can see over here on the monthly, you're right at the top of the last monthly candle there, the monthly, you know, upper wick. I think it's going to continue this week. Oscar, either this thing is going to pull back into the 21 EMA, retest 25.58 where it broke out from, like this. And this is just what I'm thinking. These are my opinions, okay? Or it is likely going to be breaking out here this week. And I think it would run straight to 37 bucks. This one right over here went 4 bucks. This push went 6 bucks. It went 7 bucks over a 2.5. It was like a 2-week period, actually. 2 weeks. 40%. 7 points. I am just saying it's possible to have the 7-point push to 37 bucks. You've been going sideways for a little under 2 weeks here above the daily 9 EMA there. Doesn't look bad. I like how the daily RSI is hinging back up as well. I think this thing is going to push over the coming sessions here. You keep finding buyers off of the 4-hour 21 EMA, and this thing's just going flat up here. I find it hard to believe they're going to go flat so clean like this under a key level. Like, look at this weekly, look at the monthly. Monthly specifically, this is the last stop. You get above here, you're going here. It's a key level right here. We're going sideways, and I can't, like, just looking at the 4-hour, I can't help but think they're not going to do this crap. They're going to send this thing. So I'm watching for it. You got HIMS, you got Oscar here, and you got UNH. All, you know, HIMS not going sideways, but UNH and Oscar are. And HIMS is probably just putting the lower wick on the weekly candle there. And there's that. Okay. Alexa off. I did not say your name, buddy. No music in today's video. No. I learned my lesson. There are angry people in the comments. Nah, you guys probably weren't angry. You guys are friendly people. Some people are rude, but that's okay. That is okay. I will still come out here and make our super short videos. Fuck, we're at 30 minutes right now. Speed run, NVIDIA. We already talked about it. We ain't got to talk about it again. All right, Cat. I just want to talk about this. That's all I wanted to say. that's all I wanted to say. I didn't even participate in the thing. Just freaking ripped. It didn't pull back into over here, you know. But yeah, the move happened. You went to 1,000. Now you're going to 1050. There you go. There you go. Cat VICR. Saw this one mentioned on Twitter today, and I like it. There's honestly a lot of names that look exactly like this. But yeah, you barely moved after you broke out from this base over here, and you just based out above that one. I'm guessing you're going to get the larger push right now. VICR. That's it. TE. Sort of perk back up here. Probably going to be making a move back up to 1249. And then I assume probably gets a larger push. It's TE. GEV. I don't know exactly how this is going to shape up. Maybe go sideways a little bit and then keeps pushing, or it's just going to keep grinding higher. But I do think we have a date with all-time highs in the short term this week or next, which is 1182. BE, another name. There was the other energy name I was pointing out, you know, is top watch for the energies. Well, I was also saying FSL is your small cap, and it did end up getting a decent push today, but it did end up giving that back. But yeah, BE continued pushing today. Unless this pulls back, there's really nothing to do about it. You would have had to take the entry on the breakout or earlier than that. That's really it. You know, you don't need to be chasing this thing into high. It goes sideways a lot of the time into the 9 and then has another leg. So we're going to see if we get that over the next 1 to 2 weeks and go sideways a little bit, just like right over there when you had this big push. Chia. All All right, Reddit rejected right then and there. Okay, 182.41. That's the level we want to see a break over. Okay, if you get that, you're probably going to be taking out 187.34 in the short term. I imagine this thing is going to be moving and grooving, and we're going 200, then 213.35. MU, we got those earnings Wednesday after the close. $1,300 incoming tomorrow? Question mark? Maybe. That's it. That's all I had to say there. Pang. All right, gapped into new highs, faded. All right, I actually pointed this one out yesterday in the video there. I was saying I'm pretty sure I was saying I don't think I'm going to trade this, but I've been watching this. This thing just looks ready to move. And it did overnight, but it faded and came back down to scene of the crime. I do think this is going to be bought, though. I do. It's going to look really iffy, but I think it's probably going to create a big lower wick, just like these last 2 weeks. So that's Pang. KRE, break and retest off where it broke out from, 71.44, rejected, all-time highs, but pulled back and is finding buyers off of here. Doesn't look bad, and at some point, okay, that wasn't all-time highs, I lied. All-time highs over here. Okay, but you did reject 74.08, highs, pulled back into where you just broke out from, are finding buyers at the weekly short-term moving average as well as the daily 21 EMA. Not the worst look, all right? This is the regional banks over here, KRE. I just want to say, the space stocks, I pointed those out yesterday as well. I think you're close to a bottom over here for PL is the one I specifically talked about. You're right off the 0.786 fib. There you go. Right off of that, and you're finding buyers. You got 2 hammer candlesticks back to back. Today is a bullish engulfing candlestick off of yesterday's. I think this thing is probably going to start turning around. Let's see if the 4-hour cloud flips green for the first time since this thing started selling. And this thing from the highs came down 50%. Okay, so yeah, solid shot. You're right around the corner from a bottom on some of these names. Rocket Lab is right back down to where it broke out from, and then ran an additional 50%. Yeah, 50% right there. Pretty perfect. All right, right into the weekly 21. If buyers are going to defend, like it should be right around here. You know, if you even retrace this move right here, oh, you're in the golden pocket. If you retrace the whole entire move, you come a little bit lower and you're there. So I think downside is limit over here for Rocket Lab. You know, ASTS, we're not going to talk about this one. Rocket Lab and PL are the ones that actually, yeah, those are the charts that look pretty decent here. ASTS has fallen off a cliff, and I don't know. It might actually come down and take out that low before reversing. You might sweep that low. Like right over here, you know. You didn't sweep it there. You got a weekly close underneath there, but then you swept that low and pushed right back up. If we see something like this on ASTS, I think that's what's going to create a bottom. It's when you see you move down at the start of the week, and then it's a red to green kind of move, like right over here. If we see that, so I'm going to keep an eye out. If we see that around this area, I think that is a bottom being put in. That's buyers clear as day stepping in. That's them saying, enough, okay, enough. We're reversing this bitch right here, right now. And I don't know. I want to get my get back, but at the same time, I probably will just trade Rocket Lab. It's just definitely the cleaner chart. I want to point out NBIS is consolidating over the highs here. It did not pull back from here, like I was saying after this day, but like that again, I share the my ideal path right there. They're not always going to be perfect, but right over here, you're still kind of consolidating / pulling back just from slightly higher. I still could see it. Daily RSI is overbought. Maybe it just stays in overbought territory, but the fact that it started hinging down over here tells me that's probably going to be topping out for the time being here. So I would like a pullback into these daily moving averages over here, and it probably will create another swing back upwards next week. Personally, what I'm thinking here, I don't think it makes sense, to go through all this and then push out and it's just going to stop here. Nah. We also didn't even get the $300 cycle right there. We just missed it by 14 cents. So do I think you get up there? Yeah, I do. Either this is going to hold as consolidation here and you have another leg just without pulling back into the moving averages, or you're going to have the pullback into the daily moving average, the daily 90 made down here around like 260, 270. And then you probably rip. Cisco is the last one I'm going to point out today. And yeah, it's not looking bad at all. It's off of the daily 21 EMA over here. You're finding buyers there. That's like 3 times over the past like 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks. And yeah, you got a little base building out. If you get the break over, it's right over here at 122.79. You get that breakout there. I think this is probably just going to be pushing back to highs. You've gone sideways for 5 weeks now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the 6th right here. They're probably going to be pushing this back up to into new highs from here. You know, why are they holding it up here if they're not gonna? You know, maybe it's just going to create a massive base. But yeah, I think chances are they're probably just going to keep taking this thing higher after all this consolidation set is done. And that move is probably going to start from right here. Right there. Okay, so over 122.79, you really don't have anything until 130.37. This thing was definitely just chugging along higher, you know, for quite some time there. It was at, started this rally over here at under 80 bucks at the 130. So I think it's probably going to continue. There's definitely better names out there, but definitely something standing out when I was scanning through things today. All right, guys, and that is about it. Okay, that is about it. You know, A-Lab is continuing to push over here, but there's really nothing to do about it. You know, if you didn't want to take it when I was pointing out off of this level right here, 372, and then also when I pointed out, you know, the breakout, that level 398.13, you don't want to be taking it now. If you didn't want to touch it back here, you don't want to touch it now. All right, so off limits. But yeah, honestly, top watch for me right now. Hood, I'm going to probably just add back what I sold there off of the 9 EMA. And I'm going to ride this thing up to 120, 125 here. And that I think comes either this week or next week. Which is, I'm just saying, if they get it back down here, to flip it into a green weekly candlestick like I think they will, no matter what. Like, I think it's going to be a green weekly candlestick. You get a big lower wick on the weekly candlestick right there. Look, if they get it down to, you know, 99 bucks, the 9 EMA, if that happens tomorrow, let's say, to flip it into a green weekly candlestick, they at least have to bring it up here 9 to 10 points, okay, to 108. You pick up what I'm putting down there, you know, they're going to have an immediate move up off of there. That's what I'm getting at. And it's the same over here, you know, on these tests. Within a few sessions, dude, this is 3 sessions, you up 12%. It's right over here, 2 sessions, you're up 7%. It's right over your test that within 3 sessions, you're up 14%. And then you just, these are your bottoms being put in, your short-term lows. You know, so I'm just saying this is going to be the first 9 EMA test since this thing broke out, and that's it. Guess what? 30-minute video is canceled. It's now a 40-minute video, but that's okay. We only went past it by like 30%, so it's fine. It's fine. It's not the biggest deal in the world. All right. But yeah, with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. All right. If you did, just please remember to leave a like. I greatly appreciate it. If you want to come trade with me, that link is going to be down below. Code FATHER, which I think it's, I should have done like code dad or something like that. It would have sounded better. But code FATHER, FATHER, that is going to be active until tonight at midnight. So you got until tonight at midnight to take advantage of that. And then I don't know when we're going to do another code. But yeah, if you want to come trade with me, I'm live every day. That link is going to be down below. Other than that, guys, I hope you have a lovely rest of your night. I will catch y'all tomorrow in the video. In the next one. Peace.